Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of the Endsieg mod with the 1944 scenario. So having now, let's say, shrinked in number the Red Army, my next goal was to expand the Baltic bridgehead by moving eastward, and in particular my next goal was to take the Soviet capital Moscow. And to achieve this I concentrated my two Panzer group, von Manteuffel in the south and Paul Hauses in the north, and the goal was to advance on Moscow on a at least two-tier large front, because I remembered what I just said in the previous episode about my experiences learned in the by playing the Total War mod, and I decided to try this. I decided to try the same strategy in the Endsieg mod, and the opening stages of the German advance against Moscow were facilitated by the fact that most of the Red Army units at this point were really badly depleted in terms of equipment. The Soviet AI reverted to the espionage system to decipher my code, giving them, I think, 30 days of combat bonuses, which apparently turned out to be completely useless because nothing could simply stop the advance of the German troops. The second, I think, was the second Panzer Division of yeah, I think was the second Panzer Division. Now I cannot remember. I don't remember that. Somehow managed to advance so quickly that it became the spearhead of von Manteuffel Panzer Group. Paul Hauser's Panzer Group was kind of delayed in the north. On one hand, because of some fierce Soviet resistance. On the other hand, I think because of the woody and forested terrain. But still, I think in a matter of less than 2 weeks, both Panzer groups joined deep east of Moscow, and I calculated that this pocket trapped nearly 24, if not 25, Soviet divisions. The Red Army tried to launch a counterattack in the south, but was quickly repelled. They did manage to encircle some of my Panzer divisions, but reinforcements came really quickly, and the besieged Panzer divisions were quickly relieved. In terms of the infantry, the 45th and 83rd Infantry Divisions, this time I remember correctly, they had the honor of advancing into a Moscow deserted of enemy troops. Yes, the AI was caught completely by surprise, I think, and did not have time to react, not even to garrison its own capital. And with the fall of Moscow, as always happens, the government flew to Stalingrad. And as Stalingrad was, let's say, the new capital, I was like, okay, maybe it's time to try something that I never attempted before, which was basically to rush towards Stalingrad from two directions, from the north and from the west. And given the, let's say, curious shape of the front line, the most obvious thing to do was to launch another pincer movement. I think this time I can proudly say that this was really the largest pocket I've ever attempted in HOI4, because on one hand from the north, two panzer groups came rushing southwards, while Guderian Panzer Group advanced along the coast of the Black Sea and the Azov Sea. The goal was to cut off the Soviet troops from any means of supply, and I think that this was a rather successful move. By advancing this time along one single tile, at the beginning the AI calculated that the supply situation was so bad that it could not move any other troops, somehow this changed after I conquered a few more provinces here and there. And to avoid a retreat of the Soviet divisions trapped in this huge cauldron, I gave a broad order to a model army group to just advance eastward. And here and there I was micromanaging once again my mobile divisions to surround and encircle and annihilate as many Soviet divisions as possible. Those encirclements were nothing spectacular, just one or two Soviet divisions trapped at the time, but still, by reducing those smaller pockets, I could just liberate more and more troops to send in the fighting against this huge pocket between Stalingrad, Rostov, and I think was Voronezh and Tula. Nothing. I mean, what could I say? Once again, when the Soviet troops were cut off from the supply source in Stalingrad, they began to starve. Interestingly, and this I have to mention it, I was really surprised by the several attempts made by the Soviet AI to relieve the pocket. And as when the fighting was raging on, I was of course kind of distracted, and at the beginning I did not see a bunch of Soviet counterattacks coming from the east, and I was forced to redeploy some of my Panzer Grenadiers and Panzer divisions to fill the gaps in the line. Otherwise, the bulk of Guderian and Hausa Panzer groups was being redirected westward to shrink even more and progressively the huge pocket south of Moscow. And well, it was just a matter of time before one by one all the smaller sub-pockets just collapsed under the tremendous pressure exerted by my Panzer and infantry divisions. Southeast of Stalingrad somehow, I must have forgotten a gap in my lines that the Soviet troops quickly exploited, but for some whatever reason the AI did not advance actually. So the AI did advance, did perform a shy advance, and then it just stopped. In the north, the Soviet counterattacked and even managed to cut off a bunch of my Panzer divisions, but my quick response did not wait for too long. And while in the south I was in turn encircling a bunch of Soviet divisions, in the north I managed to rescue my trapped Panzer divisions. And once again, I forgot that around Kursk I added several fortified positions to mimic the huge defenses that the Soviets built around in and around Kursk for the defense of the salient in 1943. And well, this was really a deja vu, because as it happened next to near Leningrad, again I had to fight a tremendous battle to eliminate the last pockets around Kursk. And then when surprisingly also, when I gave a look at the losses, I found that between let's say 1 year and a half, between 1944 and 1946, I inflicted a staggering 20 million of losses to the Soviets, while losing barely 895,000 casualties. So I would say more than a 20-to-1 ratio in terms of casualties, which was tremendously in my favor. And I concluded that now the Red Army was on its knees, because with roughly 1 division per tile, I calculated that in the next a big offensive, I should finally bring final victory to the German Reich.